Gab is being scrubbed from the internet in exactly the same way as Alex Jones was. 2 more platforms have suspended Gab in the wake of the Pittsburgh shooting, unnecessarily given how it wasn't Gab's fault, and Gab have just cooperated with the authorities wherever they can. In addition to their host Joyent, who I mentioned in the previous video, Stripe, the credit card payment processing service that apparently the entire internet uses, have also refused to work with Gab. Gab put out a statement about the synagogue shooting. Now, why Gab should need to put out a statement about the shooting is baffling, in the same way that I don't think that YouTube need to put out a statement on Elliot Rogers or the YouTube shooter or anyone else, like Randy Stair, any of these shooters who had YouTube accounts. It's not YouTube's mission for people to be mass shooters. They don't have to have a position on it. It's okay to assume that any company that has a service that the public use and a mass shooter also used prior to them being a mass shooter, we can just assume that their default position is opposed to mass shootings. But the witch hunt surrounding Gab has become so intense that they felt the need to put out a Medium article explaining their position, and Medium banned them from the service. Unironically, it looks like Medium are actually trying to silence their statement on the shooting. They've provided an archive. I'll put all of these links in the description. Seriously, why the fuck would Medium ban Gab from putting out a statement saying we are opposed to mass shootings? Why? And now their domain host is going to suspend their domain. I mean, this is exactly what happened to Alex Jones. This is open persecution of a political opponent. Because, be sure, Gab are Silicon Valley's enemy. In the same way that Minds are, in the same way that BitChute is, in the same way that all of these companies are fundamentally the enemies of the moral gatekeepers of Silicon Valley. Because that is what this is. They think it's unacceptable for a certain kind of person to say a certain kind of thing on the internet. What this comes down to is a fundamental clash of worldviews. One worldview thinks it's acceptable for anyone to speak and say their mind on any subject they want. The other worldview cannot abide this because it allows some people who have a ridiculously unpopular position to say what their position is. This is a contradiction between these two worldviews that just cannot be resolved, apparently, and justifies going after a neutral platform that is just doing what it said it was going to do. And of course, is not breaking any laws. I wasn't joking when I said, make sure that the Trump administration officials are aware of what's going on. Make sure they know that Gab are being persecuted for political reasons. This is being done about politics. The politics of one group, a tiny group of irrelevant people, and the politics of a much larger group who are also quite radical in their own way. And in the middle are the regular types, the centre-left and the centre-right, who are just watching this war go on, and you know that this is going to extend. I tell you what, you get some fucking awful comments. I mean, look at this. You don't get to be both a Nazi and a proud American. Well, look, I agree with you on that. But, like, as this guy says, Gab isn't Nazis. It's just there are Nazis on the platform in the same way that there are Nazis on fucking Twitter and Facebook and every other fucking platform. But they're a tiny and really active minority who are not making themselves any more popular until you fucking idiots start going, you know who are the problem? White people. And then I love the way that the progressives, the people who are like, raise our taxes, suddenly leap into libertarian defense mode. They're just a private company enforcing their own terms of service. Get fucked. Get fucked. This is a moral cartel from Silicon Valley who are using bullshit like this in order to bully and deplatform and defund their opponents for doing nothing other than following the law and living their lives in a way that they don't approve. Gab has done nothing wrong by being a free speech platform, by the constitution of your own country, let alone as a moral question. The alt-right are a weakening force. They aren't prospering. They aren't winning the arguments either. This belligerence looks bad, especially when you've used it previously against Alex Jones. Now you again, a man who, is a bullshit conspiracy theorist, should be dealt with in civil courts, as he is on a regular basis. He's not dealt with like this kind of, cartel behaviour. And now it's Gab, who are a social network, who are not pro-Nazi, as much as any more than they are pro-communist or SJW. There would be nothing stopping SJWs setting up Gab accounts and going after the Nazis in argument and proving them wrong over and over, making them look ridiculous and immoral and disgusting. But you don't. You run away and you think, well, I'm just going to try and hide them. I'll push them down. I'll make of them victims. It's a fucking stupid strategy. It really is the far left, and they're trampling over other people's rights and just their status in society just because of a difference in politics that is just unacceptable. It's illiberal to do this. You're persecuting people who have no real power or influence. They're not going to grow in power and influence while everything is pretty good. And it seems to be the far left that's actually making things worse and causing them to be victims. Like legitimate victims that someone like me, a liberal like me, now has to stand in defense of, like, the people you're targeting. Before we even get to Alex Jones, before we even get to Gab. And in the case of Gab, they've done absolutely nothing wrong. So this is really terrible. And the only reason you're in favour of it is because you're not on the other end of it. If this was alt-right publications, alt-right platforms, alt-right media, alt-right activists, if this was the alt-right industry of diversity, was actually the industry of the alt-right, the monoculture of the alt-right, and they were persecuting SJWs, the little blue-haired feminists who were saying, well, I'm just for diversity, I would be opposed to them doing that too. But you wouldn't have a single leg to stand on other than saying, well, I don't like it when it happens to me, but it would be okay if it happened to them. Because that's the problem. It's not that it's okay to happen to one or the other. It's that the process of ostracizing people from society and ruining them because you happen to not like them or disagree with them, even though you offered your service to the whole world, you said, hey, come and sign up, anyone can use this. You're destroying a platform that you know you all can do if you act in concert, and you just happen to have the right incentive and you have the power. It's not that it's right, it's just that you can do it. And I really don't think you want to reduce all social actions to merely a power calculation. Just a Melian dialogue. Just, we are stronger than you, and therefore. Your opinion doesn't matter. None of your arguments work, because we don't have a moral core you can appeal to. We think you're evil and should be eradicated. That's what you're saying when you fucking do this. And it's really scary, and honestly, I'm glad that the limits of your power are just deplatforming Gab, but this can't carry on. This fucking cannot carry on. So like I said, folks, if you're not trying to raise the attention of politicians about this, and anyone almost, any other CEOs, just anyone, get Elon Musk to tweet about it. Get everyone involved. Make this the centerpiece of the conversation in the same way Alex Jones was, because this is bad. This is really bad, and they're just going to keep doing it, and they're going to feel justified in doing it until they come for you. And if they've gone from Alex Jones, we can say, well, that's not easy to defend. Gab is a free speech social media network. That's it. If we can't defend this, then what have we got? What the fuck have we got? How long until they come for Minds next?